The official smell of Los Angeles is marijuana if you walk around.
It is.
It's everywhere. I feel like, so why are we in this place that it's not taken seriously?
They did a great brainwashing campaign. They did a prohibition that was so successful. And the prohibition was really only about politics, racism, and greed.
Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore, joined by a special guest co-host for this episode, my good friend and producing partner, Jess Del Pino.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, yeah, welcome to the show. We are going to be doing a special interview today with Abby Epstein. She directed the Ricki Lake produced film Weed the People.
Yes, very exciting stuff.
Yeah. And I need Jess on the podcast because I don't do the weed. I am not the weed person.
Obviously, by the way you're describing it, we can all tell you don't do the weed.
Am I too high strung? Would that be a sativa? I don't understand anything about weed. I just never gotten into it. We'll talk about it on. We'll talk about it when we talk to Abby. But I'm so glad that Jess has joined me because I need her help.
Yes. Not only is it about doing the weed, but it's also medicinal. And this documentary is amazing in explaining how it can actually help people, especially children with cancer, which is so cool.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to talk to Abby about this because I mean, my eyes were opened about it. So we'll get into that. Just a couple quick reminders to follow us on social media. We're Film Threat on everything: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even Tumblr. We do have a Tumblr.
And a YouTube.
And a YouTube. That's right. You need to check out the YouTube channel. Jess actually works on the channel. We try to bring together some great indie trailers for you to check out.
And there's some original content on there.
Some original content as well. You might even, maybe you're listening to this podcast on the YouTube channel. So you don't need for us to tell you this. So, but just a reminder to follow us on all those things, to read the filmthreat.com website daily for new reviews, and then also to support us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/filmthreat or just look up Film Threat on Patreon. You can get the entire digital collection of Film Threat classic print magazines. That's one of our perks, along with many other perks. It'll help us expand in all of our efforts.
And it's a way for you to get involved and be a part of the family.
Yeah, we need you to be a part of this crazy sort of misfit family of movie freaks that somehow are always, everyone that's attracted to work on Film Threat, every single person is a misfit of some sort.
They got to have a voice, Chris.
Yeah.
And we're here to give it to them.
Great. Let's talk to Abby. Okay. Fun fact.
Yeah.
We are starting to record this podcast at 4:20. This is not a joke. Abby Epstein.
I didn't time that by being late. I really didn't.
It kind of worked out.
You were late by a hair. The original was supposed to be here at 4:15.
Okay.
You got here at maybe 4:18.
I was in New York on time. Okay.
This is perfect.
4:20. It's
4:20.
very auspicious, Chris.
Yeah. No, I love it. First of all, I'm just honored that you're joining us here on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you for seeing the film. Thank you for having me.
Well, your documentary, Weed the People, and I have seen, full confession, I'm not a pot person. I am not a pot person.
Me neither.
Not into pot.
Me neither.
I think it's because I'm not a smoker. Mm-hmm. I will do the edibles. I'll do the edibles every once in a while. Pot cookie maybe once a year.
Yeah.
If I want to fall asleep and be paranoid.
Yeah.
But I'm not a pot person, which is why I really wanted my friend Jess Del Pino to join because she knows a lot about marijuana.
Okay. Well, not just that, but I'm also studying functional nutrition. So,
amazing.
Yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand.
Functional medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really struck me about your doc is it's about the use of there's a lot of great things about the doc, and I've seen a lot of docs about marijuana. This one really opened my eyes to a couple things. One, for thousands of years we have used marijuana medicinally.
Thousands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only been in the last 70 years that it has been vilified, criminalized. Reefer Madness probably had something to do with that film from the 30s.
Yeah, hugely.
Which is sort of you look at it, it's sort of comedic now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's all over the top.
But your documentary is, it's not really about marijuana.
Right.
Marijuana is part of it. It's these stories of these families looking for some solution for their children who have cancer.
Yeah.
And the medicinal uses of marijuana are just now coming into
being able to be studied.
Well, studied in the sense that there is proof that tumors are reduced. I mean,
Yeah.
I was really surprised because I didn't know We the People, Ricki Lake produced it. Awesome. Let's talk
Yeah.
about this documentary. I didn't expect the subject to go where it went.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's some rough scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very emotional film.
How did you get involved in this? Are you involved in marijuana or what? I mean, I think it's more of families trying to survive the crisis that comes with learning that your child has cancer.
Yeah.
And then additionally, you know, the people that have championed the uses of marijuana in these processes.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you. In some levels, I don't really think it's not a pot film. It's really a film about hope, about healing, about communities coming together, you know, to heal these children. And I think we could all relate to, like, you know, everybody would do anything possible, you know, to save a family member or a child. And it's funny because Ricki and I were like not in this space. You know, we made this documentary, The Business of Being Born, that was all about midwifery and natural birth and home
and it's
birth.
such a great documentary. That's one of my favorites.
Thank you, Jess. Yeah, that documentary is like still slaying, like 10 years later. It's crazy. And so we were kind of, you know, and then we're in production on this movie called Sweetening the Pill about the birth control pill and hormonal birth control. Wow. And like, that's our next, you know, subject we're tackling. And so this, honestly, to be honest, it really came out of left field. It's like one of those weird stories that finds you and all of a sudden you're like, why am I telling this story? Am I the person to be telling this story? Maybe I am, because I'm kind of a skeptic and I'm not a pot person. So maybe I am the person to be telling this. But it really came to us because Ricki had this little 6-year-old fan when she was on Dancing with the Stars. Wow. Cutest little girl in the world who would make little like Twitter videos and like text them to her. Well, the mother would. And the girl was so cute and she was going through chemo. And she would watch, like on an iPad, Ricki and Derek Huff like dancing on Dancing with the Stars while she was getting her treatments. Like that was what, you know, got her through. And somehow they made contact. And then Ricki got like really involved in trying to help this little girl. And Ricki's late husband, Christian, had been researching like CBD and marijuana, like almost simultaneously for his own health ailments and for his grandfather. And so it just kind of like they put 2 and 2 together, like, well, wait a minute, this little girl, she has like tumors all over her body. And we're talking about like that marijuana might have anti-tumor properties. Could this work for her? And the next thing I knew, I swear to you, Ricki called me and she's like, oh, so listen, you know, the little girl. Yeah. So I've chartered this jet and we're taking her up to Mendocino and we're going to meet with these cannabis physicians and we're going to see if we can get her on some oil. And I was like, this is a film. I'm sorry. I was like, I'm getting a camera crew. I'm coming on this plane and we're filming this. And so it's kind of, you know, that's how the film started. It started from a place of like compassion and trying to heal a child. And ultimately that little girl is not in the film. She didn't end up in the film, but she kind of like led us to these other children.
Wow.
I mean, first of all, it's my greatest fear. Isn't it every parent's greatest fear is, I mean, I have 2 kids myself. Yeah, me too. They're grown, healthy.
Yeah.
The idea that you would outlive your child, it's a nightmare. It is a so of course you would do anything. What's frustrating about it's not frustrating. The frustrating thing that comes up in the film is what our government has done to suppress all of this.
Right. Yeah.
Why is that? I mean, there are a couple conferences. You cover some conferences and some of the leaders in the field and the advocates. Where does that stand? It really is frustrating to watch that. I mean, because they've even said, look, the rainforest going away will be a bad thing because if it does, potential plants that could cure diseases might just not exist.
Yeah.
We have this one right in front of us. I mean, look, the official smell of Los Angeles is marijuana if you walk around. It's everywhere. I feel like, so why are we in this place that it's not taken seriously?
Yeah. And it's such a good point. You brought up the rainforest, and like a lot of experts are saying, like, if you found this plant in the Amazon tomorrow, it would be hailed as the next wonder drug, you know, because it has all these medicinal properties. But what's happened is, we mentioned it in the film, like they did a great brainwashing campaign. They did a prohibition that was so successful of this plant. And the prohibition was really only about politics, racism, and greed. That is what the prohibition is about. It is not about that this plant is too dangerous for like doctors to, do research on. So they were very successful. And I think that, that's what people still associate marijuana as a dangerous Schedule I narcotic. And it's absurd, it's absurd because look at, you see in the film, you're getting these children who have cancer addicted to opiates. You're giving them OxyContin. I mean, literally, you know what I mean? This is legal. All of these Schedule I narcotics that can kill you in a heartbeat. And then you have this natural alternative that's, anti-inflammatory, anti-pain, potentially anti-cancer. But, oh no, that one plant, that's off limits. It's maddening, and of course you see the wheels of big pharma and big financial interests behind that. And that's what's always been behind the prohibition of marijuana, always.
Well, is it money? Is it that they can't find a way to monetize it? Is it a matter of convincing these companies to do the research, the research that the U.S. government will accept? What is the answer to this? Because
well, maybe it's not just one answer, Chris, because like you were saying with the brainwashing thing, it's in health across the board right now. Getting away from this idea that only your doctor understands and knows what is right for you.
Yeah.
There's a whole movement now when it comes to functional medicine or even trying to find alternative things where people are understanding, I need to understand what's right for me as an individual. But there's a lot of stigma. There's a lot of brainwashing. There's a lot of ideas that people can't seem to get past. And this is just the beginning with marijuana for a whole movement across the board. And it's more than just about money. It's so much deeper than that.
Yeah, it is so much deeper than that. It's cultural, there's fear, there's religion. I mean, there's so many things, and I think that that's one of the reasons in the movie we focus on pediatric cancer, because we were like, wow, if we can just like open the window there and let some light in, that's pretty, it's pretty hard to apply that stigma to a 9-month-old baby.
Of course.
Like, it's pretty hard to say, like, oh, she just likes her medicine. She likes the way it makes her feel. I mean, it's a little hard, So we decided that was a good window. And I'll say that, having screened this film in Oklahoma City, having screened this film for Parliament in the UK this summer, these are very conservative audiences. Like, I will say that, I'm not saying that people are like convinced. Like, it's not like people are like, oh, you made the case, cannabis cures cancer. No, of course, that's not what we're trying to do. But I think that they're at least opened up to the possibility, that there's something there that really needs to be researched further.
Well, just in the course of your film, there's, not every case was successsul.
Right.
But
that's right.
But the science, I mean, just to see the looks on the parents of what was the youngest girl was, what was her name?
Yeah. Sophie, the baby.
Sophie. Yes. Sophie. Yeah. Oh my God, such a cute baby.
Yeah, I know.
So cute.
I know. She's 6 now. I mean, that's
oh my God.
Making the film. She was at the opening on Tuesday night in Beverly Hills. Like, oh my God, so adorable. And her like little pink fur jacket. I mean, adorable.
But the just to see what her parents went through, the pain that they suffered as they're going through this process, I can't imagine that with most of the data being positive, that there's not some serious, more serious intention toward having the studies done so that this can be a real thing. I mean, how is it that chemotherapy is the way that's always the way to solve it,
right?
And not
right,
and not looking at alternative medicine,
right? And guess what? Chemo is made from plants. Vincristine is a plant, you know, and so who knows? Like, why is this working so well synergistically?
Right.
Is the Vincristine somehow these plants, you know, doing? So, I think that to me, like the science was really, really compelling, and we didn't even go like as deeply into the science in the film as you could because there's only so much science I think people can take.
Yeah.
But I just think this whole idea of the apoptosis and the fact that, you know, what they think cannabis seems to do is it almost like when you have cancer, it's like the immune system is tricked. So the immune system cannot see the cancer cells. So those cells can't get the signal to self-destruct. So they proliferate. And somehow what we know that the cannabinoids do is they modulate the immune system somehow, and they give the body back this ability to then see the cancer, and so those cells self-destruct, which is called apoptosis, but the healthy cells are not damaged. So it's really different, you know, than the way chemo works. And so, yes, of course, you can see that in the test tube, and you can see that in a mouse, and it does not mean that, you know, it's going to work in every human or every cancer, or that we have any idea of like which strain or how much to take, of course, you know. But at this point, if you got stage 4 cancer, I mean, what are you going to wait 17 years until all these trials? No, I mean, this is a very safe medication. I mean, there's no known overdose deaths. It's literally impossible to overdose on cannabis, and it's non-toxic, doesn't damage the liver, you know, I mean, so it's, you know, I don't want to say it's like acupuncture, but it is like acupuncture in the way that you can try this as an integrative approach, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? It's not going to hurt you.
Well, and it when I was learning about it, it kind of reminded me of when you're learning about micronutrients.
Yeah.
And the way that ginger helps with inflammation.
Yeah.
The way that turmeric helps with inflammation.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's such a good point. And like one of the things that I think is fascinating that we didn't get into in the film is, you know, a lot of people are actually like raw juicing now to get the raw cannabinoids, you know, so they're really using it like a vegetable, like a micronutrient.
When you do that, if you're not heating it up, it's not going to cross the blood-brain barrier.
Exactly.
So
and
you're not getting the high feeling.
Exactly. And
it's just body.
It's incredible. And like, I have a friend who's a cancer patient, and she's growing it out by her pool in New York in the Hamptons this summer. And we were out there, and like in the morning, you know, she would pick the leaves and she would make me and my kids smoothies with like wheatgrass and cannabis leaves. And,
it's amazing.
And it was like drinking liquid energy. It was literally like the most incredible feeling to get those micronutrients. And that's one thing they've talked about, is that part of the diseases we may be looking at in the world right now may stem from an endocannabinoid deficiency syndrome, meaning that hemp used to be a big part of our diet. We used to eat a lot of hemp and ingest it, and removing hemp from the diet has created a deficiency that may be the root of some disease, which is like fascinating, right?
Oh yeah, just the inability for our bodies to modulate inflammation properly is the key.
Yes.
That, and then I think personally the microbiome and our gut health is the other side of it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's amazing. Like, there are people that really, I mean, you know, it's starting with the CBD craze, and everybody like taking their CBD oil every day, and like, but that's one cannabinoid out of hundreds.
What has been the reaction to the film? You mentioned it's screened at Parliament. It's screened at festivals. How have people responded when they see it?
I mean, I have to say, like, we had our premiere in LA a few days ago. We had like 350 people in the theater. It was, I mean, I've never really seen a response to a film like this before. People don't leave ever. The Q&As don't end. Literally, every Q&A in New York was like an hour.
Wow.
You know, and people like, you know, we had lunch with some friends today that were just like, I haven't stopped thinking about the movie.
That's
I literally
amazing.
can't stop thinking about it. And like, people are calling us and writing us, and they're like, what can I do? How can I support this? How can I get this into the schools, into the hospitals? Like, how can we spread this? Because I'm just shattered. I'm shaken by this film. It's bigger, I think, than we even thought. And then, we had a really sobering thing happen at the LA premiere where there was a family who came, and at the end of the film, I saw that they had like a teenage boy who was on oxygen, and he was sick, and he started vomiting in the corner of the theater lobby in the garbage. And all of a sudden I realized like what was going on, and they came over to us, and they had driven 6 hours to be there. They had seen Ricki on a talk show, and they were so desperate for anything to do for their child that they drove 6 hours from Northern California to be there, just to like be in the room and meet these doctors and to get any answers. It was so pathetic, and so, and it just struck me as like, yes, you know what I mean? This is, and like today we were doing a radio show, and these people start calling in from Detroit, from everywhere, being like, oh yes, like I have a brain tumor and I've had it for 15 years and I'm convinced this is what's kept me alive, and I gave this to my mother, and like it's like this underground secret that people are afraid to talk about.
Well, another secret that people may not know about documentary filmmakers is they're incredibly wealthy. They live a lavish lifestyle.
Did you see the car I pulled up in?
Oh my gosh! Yes, the caviar for breakfast. No, look. I believe documentary filmmakers are they're doing community service, and especially documentary filmmakers that make films that bring up social issues, that talk about what your film is about. How do you even survive? Well, yes, but how do you survive to make the move? These are important films. As much as I love the latest Marvel or Star Wars movie, these films, I mean, a film like yours is so important, and can affect change and affect so many people's lives. How do you make it go as a documentary film? We interview a lot of documentary filmmakers, and I mean, they're to me, they're my heroes, because I mean, to be able to do what you do and to barely live and do this, and you mentioned, I mean, you've been working on this film for what, 6 years?
I
mean,
since 2012.
Yeah, since Sophie was a baby. Yeah, effectively. So how do you make that go? Like, how do you have that balance to be able to get to the place where the message can finally come out? The movie's now coming to theaters. You can screen it for people and get the word out. Like,
yeah, I don't know. It's a mystery to me. I mean, the only thing I can tell you is that it's almost like you have to have a certain amnesia. It's like childbirth. Like if you really remembered it, you'd never have another child, right? It's kind of like that. Like I think I get amnesia from the films I did before, and you just sort of like stumble forward, and you like push yourself through, and you kind of have this hazy vision that at the end, something worthwhile will come out, because it's so incredibly challenging, right?
Yeah.
And people don't really understand what goes into it, and then it's like, then the film opens in LA and everyone's emailing you like, oh, can you get me a comp? And I'm like, can you just pay $15 for your movie ticket? Because like people don't understand, what goes into this. But I will say, like, it does feel sometimes like the films kind of choose me in a way, and it's like I am carrying the story, or the story's coming through me. Again, this is not like my medicine. This is not my issue. I don't have a child with cancer. I'm not a cannabis user. I'm not a medical cannabis user. I'm not a cannabis advocate. It's not a personal film, but I feel the humanity in it. And sometimes I think, even like, because I used a couple different editors on the film, of course, because you start and stop and have to raise more money, and then that first editor isn't available. And so the last editor I was finishing with, Kristen, she would just like cry daily. She was just like, this movie's so good. Oh my God. Like, I love this movie. And I'm like, really? Like, you lose perspective. You kind of lose your objectivity to it, you know what I mean? You just get so close to it. But yeah, they're really like beyond marathons. They just they take like so much endurance.
Well, I mean, you may not have a personal connection to the film, but you're a human capable of empathy.
Exactly, yeah.
And empathy, something in short supply, I think, these days, when you look at where the culture is, which is unfortunate. But now that the film is there's more awareness, what are the next steps? Because my thought when it ended was, well, this isn't over. This is chapter 1, or this is at a certain place now.
Yes.
What is the next step? I really feel like, not that you would do "Weed the People" Part 2 Electric Boogaloo, but
maybe.
but you know, I feel like the story isn't over. I feel like this is the beginning of a battle.
Yeah, I think you're right. And we keep hearing that. It's interesting. Like, just since we opened at the couple of Q&As we've had, we always have a question in the audience, like, what's next? You know, are you going to do a sequel? Or what about these stories? You know, and, you know, we are really thinking about that. But what we need right now is, like, we need partners, right? Because we don't have any more wind in our sails.
Yeah.
So we don't have any more money. You know, we had to, you know, you make all this money, you raise all this money. I mean, you make this movie, right? And then we have to raise another chunk of money to release it theatrically, of course, because we're financing this release, right? I mean, it's very hard. Like, theaters don't even want to book documentaries because they want A Star Is Born on their screens. You know, they want to make money. So it's difficult. You know, we have no P&A budget. We have no marketing budget. So like I'm hoping, like, through these early screenings, we can find some partners that will come in, you know, with some real resources and help us build like a really robust website with like educational options. And because now we're starting to get inundated with patients, you know, and I've got lines of people after screenings, like, I have MS and I have Parkinson's and I need a doctor, and like I'm just like literally taking their personal phone numbers and texting them. It's insane. So I think we need to sort of follow up with the people that are going to see this film, because I think this film will save lives and will change lives, you know. So and luckily Ricki and I had the experience with The Business of Being Born, because we started a movement that we didn't know we were going to start, and we weren't prepared. So we didn't like know how to kind of capitalize on it, not financially, but like we didn't have the machine built and sort of like ready to take off, you know what I mean? And it's all happened organically and in a more grassroots way. But now, you know, I'm hoping, I mean, I feel like we've talked to a lot of people in the cannabis space that have access to a lot of money and a lot of resources, and they're really moved by the film, and they say, like, this is the reason, like, we're in this business, you know, we really believe in the healing of this plant. You know, I hope we can get partners to, like, at least continue the outreach.
Of course.
Just getting this out to the people that, you know, need to see it, whether it's doctors, cancer patients, or just, you know, states that are still illegal. You know, that's kind of really what I'm hoping, like, step 1 is. And then maybe step 2 is telling more of these stories, because I do think, I mean, the cancer story is fascinating. It's a hard story to tell, right? Because you have to follow people for so many years. I've seen, for example, just in like some of the autism stories that I've filmed, it is beyond. I am telling you, you see these children, they are like gaining back language, gaining back, you can't imagine. One of the scientists in Israel who's in the film, Dedi Mary, I had dinner with him in New York a couple months ago, and he's doing an autism trial now, clinical trial in Israel. And he said, Abby, there's a kid in the trial who's 17 years old and has never spoken. They started him on the oils. The mother comes down and says, what would you like for breakfast? And he says, I'll have some eggs.
Wow.
17 years. And the mother had always spoken to him as if he like could process language, because she always suspected, spoke. And like, I am telling you, that is not an isolated story. So I do think there are other, you know, like, I don't know. And maybe we will talk to Netflix about doing that, you know, once this airs, you know.
Is Netflix the ultimate destination?
Yeah, so Netflix bought the film at South by last year.
Oh, congratulations.
So thank you. Yeah, so we are going to release it on 4/20.
On
Netflix. But until then, we are going to keep these theatrical screenings like rolling out and educational screenings and, really try to get it to like targeted audiences.
So you're saying this is the second film you've made that started a movement?
I think so. I think this one is really gonna be big though, because last one, yes, the timing was like right for that, but this one, the timing is like insane. Like, literally releasing the film the week that Canada is going legal.
Right.
It's the timing is crazy, but yet there's still a lot of roadblocks. We couldn't get the New York Times to cover this film. And
what?
We were shocked. And then the next week, we see the cover of the Sunday Styles is CBD. And we're like looking at the Sunday Styles in the New York Times going, what? Why wouldn't they review this film? Why wouldn't they cover this film? So
it's ridiculous.
I don't know. But you know what I mean? I think there is still some blocks in talking about this. And even, to get our Facebook ads, oh my God, all the Facebook ads were pulled.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. I saw a thing where Vice magazine pretended to be all 100 senators, and they booked ads on Facebook as those senators, and every single one was approved by Facebook. That's an article. Yeah, an article that just came out. It's just sort of crazy. I really feel it's that prejudice against marijuana as a drug that, and I'm trying to just in my history of experiences with drugs and alcohol and whatnot through my life, and I've tried the pot. It's just not for me. It's just it's not for me like velour pants. It just wouldn't. I love velour in certain instances, but not as pants. Yeah. Some people can pull it off, not me. But marijuana is not my thing. But I will say, I have seen people violent with alcohol. I had a friend when I was a teenager commit suicide, which I know was alcohol related.
Yeah.
But I have never heard a case of someone on the pot that did anything other than fall asleep and giggle too much. Mm-hmm. I've never heard of it. So, when you look at the cost to the societal costs of the negative aspects of alcohol, there is a lot of data to suggest.
Yeah.
MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, kind of started when I was in high school, which I think was fortuitous timing, right?
Yeah.
So we all take that seriously. I just don't see those negative aspects.
Right.
And now I just think that the cultural shift with regard to just acceptance of it as a recreational drug is something that certain people need for stresses in life. There are just so many medical benefits.
Yeah.
You're at the precipice of the turning point.
Yeah, I hope so. It's interesting. People are still very afraid about this addiction thing. That if they try it once, it'll be like this gateway to heroin. And, it sounds like so archaic to me. You know what I mean? I can't believe that people think that way, but then I get that people think that way because that's how we've been trained to think. So I was doing a Q&A with one of the experts in the film in New York, and somebody asked this question, about, well, I'd want to try it for medical, but I'm just so scared. Like, what if I got addicted? And he had such a good answer, which I thought. He said, there's a lot of substances that people are dependent on, right? Like people are dependent on coffee. There are things that you can be dependent on, but if it's not having a negative side effect in your life, then it doesn't really qualify as an addiction. Like an addiction has a destructive effect. Right? So it's okay. Like if there's something about this plant, if it is like the use of it is relieving your stress, is helping you sleep, this is something like I started giving this to my child 3 years ago for ADD, and it really, really helped him, and I felt much better about giving that to him than the Ritalins and the other things out there. So it's just there's this double standard of what is a drug and what is a medicine, and it's okay to need that shot of espresso every day, but you can't have your little bit of your puff of your vape pen if that really relaxes you, right? Or helps you sleep or function.
Well, Jess can have a puff of her vape pen right now on the show. She can actually do that. She's done it in my car.
Yeah.
But you're talking about the CBD oil, right? Can you explain that? The oil, right? That is, could you explain a little bit about that? Because it's not how we traditionally think of marijuana.
Yeah, it's true. So, for people who don't know, the two cannabinoids that have gotten like the most attention are THC and CBD. There's tons of other ones. There's CBD, CBN, CBG. I mean, they're discovering all these other cannabinoids, but essentially the THC is the psychoactive component. It's also medicinal, but it does, psychoactivity, and everybody has different tolerance for it. So for some people, like 5 milligrams of THC would like put them out for 3 days, and some people like literally wouldn't feel it. It's just dependent on your own endocannabinoid system. And then CBD is a powerful antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. The US government actually has a patent on CBD as an antioxidant and a neuroprotectant. And that compound is not psychoactive. So like, for instance, like I know for me, because I am like very THC sensitive and I have had not so great experiences on THC, and for me, like, it doesn't work well with my chemistry. So like I would look for something, like if I was going to use like a vape pen or something, I might look for like a 3-to-1 ratio of like high CBD or even pure CBD and no THC. Or so if an oil, like if you're giving an oil that's kind of a high CBD oil, it may have no THC and it may have like traces of THC. It would depend if it comes from hemp or if it comes from marijuana. But, I think what they're finding, what the science is finding, that it's really the full spectrum, like the whole spectrum plant that creates the best medicine, so that you have this entourage effect of all the cannabinoids working together. But yeah, I mean, that's really what I'm talking about. And then on top of that, there's now like topicals and suppositories, and there's menstrual products, and it's honestly, there's skin creams, and I mean, it's really like exploding.
And I think it goes back to what you're saying. Everybody's body's chemistry is different.
Yeah.
So somebody who may benefit from it smoking, another person may benefit it from a topical cream.
Yeah.
And it also depends on what's going on with them. Because when I was working in a health food store, learning about this and doing trainings with different CBD companies, and they're explaining the science of how this works. You realize like all of us have different receptors in our body, and then depending on where we are in our wellness and our health and stress and other things that are also going along may affect how that's affecting us in general.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So since this is not just a documentary, Weed the People is also a mission. Where can people find you? Where can people find the website, the film? Tell us.
Yeah. So we've tried to make everything really easy. Just weedthepeoplemovie.com. So weedthepeoplemovie.com has really kind of everything you need. Like if you click on screenings, you can see where all the screenings are. I think we have screenings coming up in like about 30, cities, markets. Plus, we're working with a company called Tug that allows you to host your own screenings.
Oh, cool. I've heard of that.
Yeah. So you can like do them on demand. So let's say you live somewhere where the film's not coming and you're like, I really want to bring this to my community. They can set it up for you in a movie theater. Nice. And then once you sell a certain number of tickets, like you have like a minimum threshold of tickets, it's like kind of like crowd-funded theatrical. So, we have ways you can do it that way. You can actually host online digital screenings.
Oh, nice.
We have a way to do that on our website. So yeah, everything is kind of all in one place there.
Well, Abby, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you,
and
Chris.
Congratulations on weedthepeoplemovie.com. Remember to go there.
Yes.
And thank you again, because truthfully, documentary filmmakers are they're doing a service for all of us. So thank you.
Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.
Is this a medicine? Cannabis has been a medicine for 3,000 years. It only hasn't been a medicine in this country for 70 years.
There's more tumor right here, and then there's a bigger mass here.
Are you ready? Are you ready to kick cancer in the butt?
She's perfect, health-wise. She's had one cold in 9 months, and that's pathetic.
Except for that damn cancer.
Except for that huge mass in her brain. That's the only thing. Yeah.
We're gonna fight till the end, and we're not gonna stop until this cancer is gone.
And this is her cannabis oil regimen that we have right now. We give her the size of about a half a grain of rice 2 times a day with baby food.
That's it.
And then you undo the clamp there. And it flows down, just using gravity. You okay? Any parent of any kid with cancer, if they know about cannabis oil and they research it properly, I think the vast majority of people would choose to do it.
And don't forget that what's to come hasn't come yet.
As a cancer doctor, every day I see patients who have nausea, vomiting from their chemotherapy, pain, depression, loss of appetite, insomnia. And I could write them prescriptions for 5 or 6 different medicines, all of which are, number one, probably expensive, could interact with each other, or could interact with the chemotherapy drugs that they're taking. Or I could recommend that they try one medicine, cannabis, which can take care of all of those concerns.
Every single thing I do related to cannabis, whether it's me taking a puff, me talking to a patient, me writing a recommendation, me researching, me being around it, is all federally illegal, period.
It's tough when they live in a place where they do have to break the law, and they are considered a felon if they do that. If it said no swimming, and my child's drowning, I'm in that water. I don't care what that sign says.
He's still not 100% back to normal yet, but he's making progress there. Chico wants to start a campaign. He wants kids with cancer to have access to cannabis. We all feel that we can't just be, we're all right now, so we're going to go back to our old lives and forget about everybody else and not do something. We start work now to do what we need to do, so I'm really excited.
There's some cell death. The tumor is actually dying in certain areas. There's no new growth. I'm just thrilled. This is the most amazing news we could have ever gotten.
It's a good feeling. I can actually see the future. I can see walking little Sophie down the aisle and taking her to first dance recital and all those things that you want to do.